Ooh, it looks like I'm getting ready to do some painting, but why do I have so many different paint cans here? I'm going to explain that in a minute. I had a nice little situation happen at a paint store this morning. I want to tell you all about it. But first, I want to tell you what I'm going to do today. I'm going to end up installing primer on these steps. You saw the videos. The last 3 videos I did were about skimming out these steps, and I ended up using Fix-It-All, and I showed you that, and it's on my channel right before these videos, or you can find it on my playlist under dry rot deck repairs or dry rot stair repairs. But I'm going to end up putting Kills latex on there, and I read the directions, and it's kind of cold this morning, and it says 50 degrees or higher. Right now it's 47 degrees, and I don't want to put it on just yet. In about half an hour or so it's going to be 50 degrees, and I'll check on that, and then I'll put that down. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay, also I'm going to put some caulking down along the edges and stuff, and I read the directions on here, and it says anything above 40 degrees you can put this particular caulking. And so I would highly recommend, if it's cold outside, you want to read the directions on your paint cans, on your caulking, and that kind of stuff before you get all gung-ho and you get it down, and then you find out, oh shoot, how come it's not sticking? What's the deal here? It doesn't look like it's going on like regular paint, and maybe it's because it's too cold. Okay? But enough of that. This particular video has to do with matching paint. How do you match paint up? And I want to tell you my situation I had at the paint store this morning. I took in a paint can like this one here. It happened to be a slightly different color than this. It was a little bit darker brown. It was like this brown instead of that darkish gray. Okay, and it was this super spec acrylic flat finish Benjamin Moore, and I actually had the paint store name and stuff, and it was 2005. And I opened up the paint can, and it had about this much paint left in it. I mixed it all up. It was like paste, and I thought, okay, I'll go to the same paint store and I'll get them to match it up. And they even had the number of the book and the base and all these different little numbers, and every paint that you get has, usually they'll put a tag on there and it'll have different numbers on it. Like, see this gallon here, it says Thatched Cottage, and there's black 2P4 YOX 2P2OXR40, white 1P18. What's that all about? Well, that's the color. That's the exact color. It does say Thatched Cottage, but a lot of times they don't have a name, and the main thing paint stores want is this number so that they can mix it up. Okay, so I went to the paint store, and he said, oh, we don't have this exact thing anymore. This was 2005. We have a different base. And I said, well, can you get it matched up? And here's the color, here's the paint color, here's the base numbers, and all that. And he says, oh, okay. He went back there. Okay, yeah, sure enough, they have these different colors, and he put it in a different gallon because they didn't have super spec. They had something else. And he comes out later, and he mixed it all up, and it was a different color. It wasn't exactly the same color. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to accept this. This needs to be matched. I told you it needed to be matched. And then I had to leave the paint can there. And he said, well, there's like 10 other people in front of you. It's going to be later. So I came back to the house. Luckily, I actually found another paint container, a gallon container, and I mixed it up. On the outside, I didn't think it was the right color, but I mixed it up and I thought maybe that's the color that I need. Sure enough, it was. this was probably 2011. This, and the can that I had was 2005. And so I think they took this, they mixed up and matched the old paint, and that's the color I need. So I called them up, I told them I didn't need it, and so they're not going to mix it up for me. But here's the thing. When you go to the paint store, even if you have the number, okay? Even if you have that number, see those numbers right there? Every paint, usually when the paint store gives it to you, they give you numbers. Here's another paint can. It's a different one altogether, but here's the number. Here's the number, black 2P22, OXR OP38, YOX 2P17. And they took this paint and they put that amount of the different things in there, and they got that exact color. But here's the thing I want to stress. Even if you have those colors, if the paint store, you take your paint container to, and if it's not the same base paint, it's never gonna match. I don't care who the painter is, what the paint store says, it's not gonna be right. I should have known that. I kicking myself. I should have known that. I should have told them, hey, you've got to match it. The paint guys tell me, oh yeah, we'll just do this and it'll come up the same. It won't come up the same if you're not using the same base. Now see this here, this one, deep base 1833B. Now let's look at this one. Here's the deep tint base 2412-0400. Here's another one. That's the base 482123. Here's the deep tint base on this one, 1010-333. Every single paint has a different tint base, and the tint base, usually all of your paints, they'll come uncolored. It'll be a white. Okay, and each tint base is different based on what this is. Here's flat paint. This is eggshell enamel interior. Here's interior flat. Satin finish exterior. Acrylic flat finish. Premium latex exterior. Let's look at this one. Semi-preventative semi-gloss enamel. It doesn't say if it's interior or exterior, but it's it might be both. I don't know. Okay, I know they used it for exterior. That base number has to match up. If let's say you want that color, but you want it in this, but you want flat paint, an interior flat paint, you want Kelly Moore, and you say, I want this color, but I want it in this product. They cannot take that base, they cannot take those numbers and just apply it to here. It's never going to match up, because the tint base right here is different than the tint base, the deep base here. You see what I mean? So if you want that color in this type of paint, interior flat paint, or if you want eggshell, let's say you want eggshell, and you want this color, but in eggshell, and they don't have it in this brand or whatever, then they have to mix it up. They have to match it. What they would do is they take a little bit of this one, they'd mix it up, they put on a little piece of paper, they dry it with a heat gun, or they would take it on a piece of paper, dry it on a heat gun, put it underneath a camera on a computer, match it up. Or some old timers, before they had computers and before they take pictures, they would just put it on a stick. They stick it on a stick like this, or they put it on a piece of white paper, and they dry it, and then they start mixing up and matching the paint. And lots of paint stores will do that. Just about all of them that I know of will do that now. Okay? And they'll match that color to this paint, this brand of paint, or that deep tint base. You see what I'm saying? Don't just take in a paint can like this, and if they don't have this exact one, maybe it's Sherwin-Williams, maybe it's Pittsburgh Paints, maybe it's Behr, or who knows what it is. If that base number is not the same as this base number over here, they're gonna have to mix it and match it by hand. Okay? Don't have them take the little numbers and put those same numbers in this paint can over here, and then have them mix it, and then have you say, oh, thank you very much, and you take off, and you get back there and you try to match it onto your wall, and you think, son of a gun, it's wrong. I should have known better. Okay? Some guys at paint stores, just like this morning, this paint company has been open for, oh, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, who knows? Lots of commercial painter guys in there ordering their paint, and I go up to the counter and I tell the guy what I want, and he immediately takes these numbers and puts it in a different gallon container and says, oh, it's not the same, we use another product now. And I should have known that the base, I should have said, is the base number the same? Obviously, if it's not the same brand and the very same name and stuff, it's not going to be the same base number. And here's another thing, depending when you get your paint, maybe you've got Kelly-Moore paints, Magnum interior flat paint, and you've got a light medium tint base. But 5 years goes by and you take your paint can and you want to match it, and you go to the paint store and they have the exact same thing, and they mix it up, and they mix it up for you exactly with the tint numbers and stuff. You go in there and see, here's the tint numbers right here. Here's the tint numbers. Here's some other numbers right here. But sometimes they change their tint base number. If that base number is not the same, everything else is the same, and that number's not the same, guess what? If you mix it up exactly the same as this, it is not going to match. I know, because I tried it before and it just will not work. And so if the tint basis isn't the same and you want it exact, they're going to have to match it up to a gallon. And if you want 15, 20 gallons before they start mixing up a 5, you better make sure they mix up 1 gallon first, match it, dry it, do all the stuff that they need to do before they figure out what the tint numbers are and all that kind of stuff, before they start adding it into your 5-gallon buckets or 4 1-gallon gallons or whatever. Okay, so there's a tip for you when you get ready to match up your paint. It's very important. If you don't know that, your paint store is not going to explain it to you. And some of your paint stores, they might not even think about it or whatever. The paint store this morning, he didn't think about it. I forgot to mention it to him. Hey, is the base number the same? If it's in a different container and he says, oh, we don't use that anymore, that's 2005, man. We don't have that, but we have some other stuff. It's called something spec, and it wasn't the very same, but it was from Benjamin Moore. I should have known right off the top, the base number is not going to be the same. So think about that kind of stuff before you start mixing and matching your paint and going to the store. You'll be glad you did. One last thing, this is bonus material. If you're still watching and you've got a paint and it's from Kelly-Moore, but usually you shop at Home Depot or whatever, but they don't have Kelly-Moore, and you end up going to a Kelly-Moore paint store. Usually it's like a commercial paint store, and they'll help you out, they'll take care of you and all that kind of stuff. Just know that if you don't have an account with them, and chances are you won't, because you won't have a commercial account with them, the paint is going to cost you more. It's going to cost you more than if you were a contractor. So just keep that in mind. So if you know that they have to match it up, and maybe you don't mind having it not be from Kelly-Moore, maybe you want to go to Home Depot, maybe you want to go to Ace, maybe you want to go to Lowe's and get something that's comparable to this product here. You can take your old paint can with you. They'll match it up for you. They'll get you something that's similar, comparable, and maybe it doesn't cost you as much. There's a tip for you. And if you end up saying, no, I'm going to a regular paint store, I'm going to Sherwin-Williams because it's Sherwin-Williams paint or something. Not that this one is, this is Kelly Moore too, but maybe you want to go to Sherwin-Williams. Ask them for, hey, I'm just a momsy popsy guy, and I don't have an account with you. I'm just trying to do some work around the house, and I'd like to get the paint from you, but I want contractor's price. Can you give me contractor's price? Just ask them. Usually they will accommodate you, but if you don't ask them that, chances are they're going to give you top price for their paint because you don't have an account with them. Okay? Remember that when you go to the paint store. Yep, I'm calling it a day. Got them done. I even skinned this bottom one because that was pretty rough. After I got these bottom steps done, I went up and did the nails again on the risers. Did those again. I even filled a couple holes. I had this and I notched it to fit into the stucco, and there was a slight gap there, so I even filled that up because I didn't think the caulking would be that fat. And I did the same thing up in there, still drying, and I fixed the this gouge right there. I checked some other things on the front edges, and anywhere where I thought I still needed to do. Now, could I go over these more and more and more? I mean, geez, how smooth do I want them? I mean, there's a couple little spots where there's a few lines, and I might hit one or two more thin, small pans of mud in the morning. I don't know. See, like, I mean, there's little lines here and there, and it's getting in the afternoon, the sun's not on it, and maybe when the sun shines on it I'll be able to see some more imperfections. I see a little bit right in here that I could do, you know, a couple different areas, and then I'm ready for the next step. Next step is to caulk it. So tomorrow I'm going to caulk it. I don't want to caulk it now because it's getting in the afternoon. The weather's getting a little cooler, and I want to do it when the sun is out on these steps. I think that might be the best thing to do. And I looked at the weather, and I think it's supposed to be sunny tomorrow, although I'm not sure. It might be cloudy. Might be cloudy tomorrow, and if it is, I'll just have to decide whether or not it's warm enough to put the caulking down. Okay? Well, I hope you learned something on using the Fix-It-All. Okay? I sure did. Well, that's all I have for this time, but I'll be back with more videos. Man, I'm glad that's over with. 2.5 days of H. And I'm glad it's done.